Okay, today I would like to show you what I call potting up. So if we have something in a plug tray, this is about the smallest tray that I use to start seeds in. This tray has 200 cells in it, individual little pots in this one tray. And then if we go from a pot that's this size to a bigger pot, I call it potting up. So here's a bigger pot, here's a bigger pot, and here's an even bigger pot. So anytime I go from a smaller pot to a bigger pot, I use the term potting up. Now these had plants in them last year, but then for some reason these plants did not make it into the garden. They either died, or I simply didn't need them, or whatever. But these were some leftovers. Now if they died because of a disease, it would be really bad for me to pot a good plant up into this, because the disease could still be dormant in here. But I don't know that I had a lot of disease last year, so I really don't think that that's the problem. This looks like a chive, which is probably a garlic chive, I'm guessing, because it looks like it has flat leaves, but it's hard to tell in this dormant state. So this plant is not even dead. This one just needs to be watered and it would start growing. But these have been sitting here all winter with no water, so they're very, very dry. So what I want to do is just set this entire tray inside my cookie sheet here. And this is an oversized cookie sheet that comes from a restaurant supply. And I just fill it up like that, and then these will start soaking up moisture from the bottom. I like to water from the bottom. It's a good practice. I also do most of my watering from the top. The main reason people water from the bottom is to avoid a wet surface on the top, because there are certain kinds of disease-causing fungus that can kill your plants, especially your small seedlings of tomatoes and peppers and other little plants. And if the soil is wet all the time, those disease-causing fungus will kill your plants quite often. And that certainly could be true for what we're doing here. But I'm not super concerned about that. But I have some extra broccolis, cauliflowers, and cabbages, and I don't have room right now in the garden, in bed number 2 where we're planting those things this year. I don't have room to plant them all there. So I'm going to pot them up. If I leave them in this tray right here, at this stage, they're going to become stressed. They're going to start losing vigor. And once they get stressed, they're going to try to flower. And then we'll have a broccoli that's like the size of a pea. And we want a bigger broccoli than that. So I'm going to pot them up. And then that will keep them growing good. And then I can take this pot and set it in there. And the roots will go right through this fabric. And they will, and that will work out good. Now, if this was a root crop, I would not do that, because I learned last year that these fabrics do not do well with root crops. Okay, so I have my dibble here, and I'm just going to go through this. I'm going to go down in here, and I'm going to dibble a hole right in this pot. And I don't know if it will stay a hole, because it could all just collapse back in, because this potting soil is really dry, and most of it collapsed in. But there is kind of a hole there, so we will try to plant this little plant right in there, just like that. And then on top, this is my worm castings that are full of really good organisms. And hopefully the good organisms will outcompete any disease that could be in that soil. Okay, there we go. So that is done. And then once we get the entire tray finished, we'll go ahead and water them in like this. And we will soak that good. So when I poured this pitcher of water in, the water level, this low corner over here, was all the way about to spill over, but now it's down 1/4 of an inch. So that tells me that these are beginning to soak up and take up water. So that is really a great thing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to dibble holes in every one of these. So there's a hole. Let's find a plant. And there's that. And now we'll get a little bit of worm castings to fill up. Now when you're dealing with brassicas, if you plant the soil, get the soil around the stem, then it will just grow more roots. That's the same with cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, collards. All the brassicas will do that. Tomatoes will do that. Tomatoes are not a brassica, obviously, but they will do that. Pepper plants will do that. And some people say always plant at the same level as your soil when you plant. And I agree with that. So they would say just plant it to right there. I don't. I plant it way up here. Unless you have a bad soil, and then disease could get in there and hurt it. And that's why people say to plant it at the same level, is because of disease problems. Now trees are different. Trees and shrubs are a little different. So anyway, we're just going to do this to each and every pot here. And we'll see how this goes. In the next month or so, the next 4 to 6 weeks, this will supply a big enough root system, enough root space with all of the extra space in these pots, that these plants will grow on and thrive without thinking that they are going to be stressed out and die because they don't have a root system. Okay, there we go. So here is the one for that one. Fill him up with a little bit of castings. Okay, perfect. Let me show you this one. This one has 2 big healthy plants inside. And so I'm just going to grab the stems like that, and I'm going to gently pull apart. And see, there's a good root system in that one. So we'll put them in that pot, and I'll surround those roots with these good worm castings that I have. And that plant will take right off and grow. Alright, that's great. Things are looking good. Okay, I got that done. That was very inefficient, not very fast. I like to do things super fast. It seems like it was tedious to do that the way I did it. But I'm glad I did, because these plants are going to be doing really good. I think they're going to thrive. And where I'm working with really dry soil like that, I'll want to leave them in this tray to soak up water for a long time. Like a day, like tomorrow I would take them out. So 24 hours would be a good time period. Okay, there we go.